I nerd out on stuff like this.
I'm a science geek as it is anyways. I like to consider myself a thermal nerd. And if you look at my tattoos, everything is science related. And I love this conversation with the open cell and the science behind it, because this conversation changes as we move around the United States.
Moisture mitigation is the biggest thing.
It is.
What we've seen over and over and over again, especially in the Southeast, condensation.
From a consumer's perspective, I think it's beautiful. I love to walk in you guys' house. You walk into the front door and you have this big wide open space. Now, from a mechanical perspective, it's burdensome.
What's up, everybody? I'm jacked about today's episode on the Barndo Show because we're going to talk about one of the things that I absolutely love, which is energy efficiency, insulation, HVAC, and all the things. Because the number one comment that we get on every single post, regardless of how many times we posted it and how many times we responded to it, is, man, that's a beautiful, great living room and high ceilings. I'd hate to see the power bill. And I love that comment because you're right. In the wrong environment with the wrong building system, that could be a problem. But the way that we've designed everything and the way that we apply our standard Barndo code process, you end up with a very, very energy efficient home, and all of that stuff is tied in together and designed to work together. And so I'm excited to have you on the show to shed some light on that. So take a second, just tell everybody who you are or your company and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Todd Bolton, Synergy Spray Foam and Air Conditioning. And so originally an air conditioning contractor, moved into the spray foam industry years ago just to merge the two. And in my efforts, I like to say that they synergize, they're inverse coefficients of each other. So in the way I approach things is I approach them as one system. I love energy efficiency, the science behind it, doing the load calculations and floor door tests, just everything works together to become an energy efficient, comfortable, and clean environment. The beauty of the homes that you guys build with those large high ceilings and you encapsulate attics is what a lot of people don't really understand is that the energy efficiency, the true energy efficiency that comes from you guys' homes is actually moving the ductwork into the encapsulated space. So when you take that heat load off of the HVAC system and the ductwork and put that into a semi-conditioned space, then it not only prolongs the life of those products, but it greatly improves the impact of the performance.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, what's fun for me is so in a time forgotten before Barndo, I literally spent 8 years of my life as a R&D and manufacturer for high performance insulation systems. And what I did was I designed and created a product that was just a kind of a commodity, but it was very specific to high performance insulation. And so I was part of a system for a bunch of big national or international insulation companies. You know, we worked hand in hand with one of the largest insulation supply houses and or installers. You know, True Team. Like I literally had their whole team asking questions and building things, and so I was so heavily involved with insulation. We were doing that. We were working with Owens Corning. We did a bunch of private label stuff with Certainty, and even got to go into Europe and work with Knauf and all these different things, and like building all that and being in that environment. Granted, like I wasn't in the insulation itself, but because I was making a product that supported this high performance insulation, I learned everything there was to know about insulation. And one of the things that I was super passionate about was like a bib system, right? Like blowing blanket is such an incredible product, and I spent 5 years going around the country and Canada and parts of Mexico and even into Europe explaining how it is the most advanced system. And the thing about it is like in conventional construction, it is a great system.
Sure.
And I battled spray foam insulation head on all the time for a plethora of different reasons. And when we got into barndominiums, there was so much debate about open cell, closed cell, this, all these different things, rock wool versus. And when we started doing some independent tests because I nerd out on stuff like this. We actually built some cavities, took it over. I got a cousin who's a brilliant engineer, and he and I actually developed some tools to be able to test R values and resistance levels and stuff in cavities. And we were running some tests, and we found out that like if we build in a certain way, the open cell spray foam is the absolute best option for what we build in the area we build. And it kind of blew my mind because like like I battled so long to prove that it wasn't as good as this other thing. And what I found was is like when open cell became more popular because it was like closed cell dominated the world. And then when I got into open cell and started figuring out some of the different properties and the way it operates is so similar to a dense filled fiberglass in that the home can still breathe, right? And being in the humid southeast, that is the most important thing in the world. Is you don't want that airtight, sealed up. Just you don't want that. Like you want to be efficient in how you're building, but you want to be careful on the conditions you're creating by building that way. And so I was transformed and became I said, if you'd have told me 5 years ago that I would have been building a company and my standard would be spray foam insulation, I would have told you lost your mind. But I was proven wrong, and I spent a lot of time with a lot of really great people from the manufacturing level to the local install level, getting taught why in this application it is so superior. And I conceded and said, "You're absolutely right. Like that, I can't argue with the science. I can't argue with the results that we see, and this just the way you can feel it. Like you can walk into one of our homes, and you don't have to know all the details. You can just feel it,
Sure.
right? It's in the dry. They're in HVAC turned on. There might not even be doors in. And when you walk in the summer heat of South Carolina, and you walk into one of these houses, you're like, oh my god, like this is a massive difference." So I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, sure.
I nerd out on it completely. So the fact that you get to do both sides of it with the air conditioning and the insulation, let's geek on it. Like let's do it.
So yes, for sure. Well, I'm a science geek as it is, anyways. I like to consider myself a thermal nerd. Yeah. So and if you look at my tattoos, everything is science related. And I love this conversation with the open cell and the science behind it because this conversation changes as we move around the United States. And I'm part of a large group called Spray Foam Worldwide, and we do a lot of charitable stuff together. But I've got a large network around the United States, and we talk a lot through different means and different channels. So people call me all the time asking about what they should do in different applications, and that application changes around the United States. And I 100% believe that through your effort and your research that you've came up with the best case scenario here. Open cell foam, I think, is great in our climate zone. From an air conditioning perspective, we have to look at before an air conditioning system cools a house, it's got to dehumidify here, because it can be nice and cool in 80% humidity, and it's not so comfortable anymore. But from an insulation perspective, we aren't just looking at the thermal load that we're trying to mitigate, but we're also looking at vapor drive, and so vapor drive here with the open cell foam and the way you guys do it with wood to metal. It allows for that vapor drive to be able to diffuse. So if you were to have any moisture get in through the walls, it's going to be able to diffuse out. Um, a lot of people push closed cell foam here in our climate zone. I wouldn't. I don't like to put closed cell foam on anything unless it's direct to metal. Now, here we have manufacturers that want to avoid the warranty if we do it direct to metal. So that's an argument that's touching. The SPFA says we should spray it direct to metal. The manufacturers typically say we should not. So it's kind of a catch-22. But with vapor drive open cell foam, it allows your houses, I don't want to say breathe, I like to say diffuse, because we don't want the house to breathe. We want to seal it up tight, and then we want to ventilate. And we can control the means in which we do that. It's like living in a Yeti core. You get that air in and keep it in and ventilate it and exchange it as necessary.
Yeah, moisture mitigation is the biggest thing.
It is.
So when you build a metal box, the number one thing, we started this company. It immediately, the way my brain operates, I started thinking like, what are the fails? What's failing over and over and over again? So as we started digging into this, and we've got Facebook groups with millions of people in them, and And homeowners love to go there. And like, it's so bizarre. It's a catch-22 for us in this space because, there's not a production builder alive. Like, there's not like a Facebook group that says like, dream track homes. Like, and people are in there like, can't wait to get my track home. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not casting shade. It's just barndominiums are cult-like. Like it's an insane, it's a lifestyle beyond just the product. The people that build them, it's a lifestyle brand. And so they love to get on there and you better be on your P's and Q's because they're gonna be posting pictures of what you're doing and asking those people what they think about it, and they're gonna have 900 different opinions, and some of them had never even built a barndominium or seen one in person, but they're gonna chime in. But what we've seen over and over and over again, especially in the Southeast, condensation.
Sure.
And it comes from building these metal boxes with metal blanket or metal building blanket insulation, and then people are converting that into living space.
Sure.
And it is a disaster because the humidity levels. And what's funny about it is like literally the number, even to the way we build porches. We build them in a certain way to prevent it because even the porches will condensate here 2 times a year.
Sure.
Because of how the temperature differential is and what the dew point is outside. And people just don't realize like all that goes into it. Like, yes, when you build your home and you got metal siding, metal roofing, you got a low maintenance bit, like that is as great as an external factor you can have. If you do not apply building science to go from that to a heated and cooled conditioned space inside, moisture in here is going to destroy you. And so, even down to the way that we put on house wrap, the MBTR ratings that we do, like we will not use a contractor grade wrap. We're going to use something that has a high point MBTR because we won't, when you say that, like let it diffuse. Well, if it's diffusing, it needs to be able to escape that. But also when moisture gets behind that metal, it don't need to be able to come through that material into that wood and pull moisture in. And so you got to put all these things together. And I told you, man, I'll geek on this stuff. Like it's the stuff that people don't know. And the reason why, if you build a Barndo Co. Barndo, you're going to get this regardless of your budget, is because we will not offer a lower grade.
Sure.
Because we do not want you to have a long-term issue. And so I don't care what you're building. You can build a 900 square foot barndominium or you build a 9,000 square foot barndominium. You're going to get this system, and it is included in our standard. And I love to educate people on why and the long-term value that this adds. And, because people come to us, there's other people that build barndominium and stuff, and they'll look at us and say, why are you so much more expensive? And I'll be like, well, in the grand scheme of things, I don't really think we are. We just do things to be the best, right? The best is the standard for how we operate, and we want to be the best. And so we set the bar really high, and we used to deviate around it as we were building out what standard should look like.
Right.
And once we landed on a recipe where we saw massive success, we were like, we'll never do nothing different.
Sure.
And so that became the standard. And so there's a method and a means to the madness in which we operate that just, again, our specialty.
Right.
We build nothing but residential dwellings.
Yeah.
Built like a barn.
Yeah. And I love the way you guys really, when you're talking about going back to moisture and having, just metal buildings built with insulation. So one of my favorite things to do is not so in the new construction world, in new houses, I geek out every time I get to sit down on my computer and do a takeoff and do the manual J calculations and start putting the two together. Like I just thoroughly enjoy that stuff. I love my job when it comes to that. But outside of that, one of my favorite things to be able to do is troubleshoot older homes. With moisture, comes condensation. With condensation comes mold. I don't like to use the M word. It's usually used as a scare tactic in our industry. So I try to steer away from it because a lot of times what people think is mold is sometimes just some condensation built up and had some dust stick to it and just continues to stick to us. It looks like black mold, but it's really not. But some of the worst mold issues that I've ever seen are older homes built either with very little insulation. Pre-1940 is without insulation, and people go into air conditioning systems in them. So you have these walls with no insulation in them, and you have air infiltration. So when you have a hot day outside and cold day inside, and you have that hot air moving inside, it hits behind the sheetrock, and you're building condensation within the walls. Same thing happens in a metal building if you, not the way you guys build them, because you guys actually put the OSB in and then put in open cell foam, so it's off sealed up. But I do so many of them where it's just metal with fiberglass. and you have all that air coming in behind that metal, and the metal itself is notorious for thermal conductivity. So it's really easy to hit dew point if there's any air infiltration whatsoever. So you just really have to be careful when you build a barndo in that manner to make sure you don't have that.
Yep. Especially in the southeast.
Yeah, especially in the southeast. Now, north might maybe get away with it a little bit better, but especially in the southeast. Yeah. Speaking of, you said you traveled around the UK and you were against spray foam. That just brings me to mind that, yeah, when you look on the internet, you see so many horror stories about spray foam, and so many people, well, you're not going to be able to get a mortgage. Eventually, you're not going to be able to buy a house because it's got spray foam in it. And but the truth behind that is, and what most people don't realize, and I've typed in so many barndominium groups online that I'm now just copy and paste things. So I'm trying to, but the truth is 99% of those horror stories come from the UK. And if you look at the UK, they seal homes up with spray foam, but less than 5% of homes in the UK actually have a mechanical HVAC system in it. So you don't have any means to remove any of that moisture. So they're sealing these houses up real tight in a tropical climate. I don't say tropical, but it's an oceanic climate.
Yep.
So it's very humid. And so it's really just a conglomeration that's gonna just fester mold and gonna do.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of those horror stories.
Well, it's building a system.
Yeah.
And one of the things, like, you talked about the fact that we do semi-conditioned attic space, right? It's because we do a complete envelope.
Sure.
And the reason why we do that, it goes back to my days in the balloon blanket world, to where that was a self factor, is, you carry it all the way up to the roof line, insulate, and then you have semi-conditioned. And I mean, in some instances, like, you could turn a duct out in the attic and condition that attic space if you need to, right? If it's an area where you're storing things consistently, like, you can do that.
Sure.
But just insulating against the roof deck, all of that is working together. So, because it's hard to explain it to people, because they traditionally they've got up in their attic space and they're walking across the ceiling joists, or the rafters of their attic,
Right.
and in between, blown in loose fill insulation, or old bats or rock wool, depending on how old the house is.
Sure.
And they're walking across it. They got boards laid across it, and that's where the insulation is. And when you need to find that wire that feeds the ceiling fan, you're digging in it and doing all this stuff. But it's 2,000 degrees
Sure.
in that attic. When you insulate directly to the roof deck, it allows you to break it up. And you said it best, by keeping the heat off of the ductwork.
Sure.
And that the handling unit, it's not working overtime in that attic. So, like, lean into that a little bit, because I think even if you take barndominium out of it,
Yeah.
if we were just a custom home builder doing that one thing against other custom home builders,
Yeah.
the advantages are spring.
Sure. So if we run an energy audit on any structure, the most energy efficient upgrade that you can make to a house possible whatsoever is to move the mechanical system into your conditioned space inside the home's envelope. So think about that. If you've got a traditionally built home, you've got, let's say, R30 in the attic. Well, you've got a delta in temperature there. Now your home is, let's say, 72 degrees, and your attic is probably going to be somewhere around 140 to 160. It's a large delta in temperature, but you've got an R30 there in between. But let's think about the delta of the air that's running through those ducts that's in a conventionally built home. You've got R8 insulation, and that's a fraction of an R30. So you got an R8 insulation, and you've got 50-degree air with 150-degree attic temperature. That's a huge delta. And think about how many square foot of ductwork that is. If you take, I don't know, a couple of 100 feet of ductwork, flatten all that out, that's a massive area that's only got on R8 insulating in between the two. So if you take all of that and move that into a conditioned space, it almost doesn't even have to be insulated. As a matter of fact, I've got some homes that are fully insulated. I mean, fully conditioned attics, and I don't have any insulation on ductwork. I didn't need it. Right? So that's huge. It's just moving the HVAC system into the home. And then what a lot of people don't understand is the longevity of it is that, now you probably double, maybe even triple the lifespan of that ductwork, because it's not going to have the moisture, the humidity problems. If you look at old ductwork, you can almost stick your finger through it, because it just saturates over time and deteriorates. On top of that, your air handler is not sweating. Air handlers typically only have like an R2 insulation inside of them. And then once you spray foam the roof deck, well, spray foam is never going to settle. So it's a one and done. It's battling inflation for the life of the home. It's going to be there for the life of the home. So you'll never have to pay for that again. So if you pay for spray foam today, 20 years from now, it might be double what you pay for it today, but you got the same product. And then on top of that, the other huge efficiency upgrade that it's not really spoken about much, but if you enjoy the thermodynamics and the science side of it, there's a phenomenon in the home called the stack effect. I don't know if you're familiar. So the stack effect, it in the wintertime, it goes one direction, and in the summertime, it goes the other. So what the stack effect is, let's say all of your HVAC systems are in the attic, and you're cooling the air in your home. So as you cool that air and that air settles, well, that air is going to settle. As it settles, it's going to create a positive pressure along the plane of the floor. And this is in the summertime. So if it's creating positive pressure along the plane of the floor, it's going to be an equilibrium somewhere in between, and all the way across the plane of your ceiling, there's going to be a negative pressure. So that means if your attic is 150 degrees and all of your ducts, lights, any fixtures, none of it's sealed up, well, it's actually physically pulling the air out of the attic. So you're pulling 150-degree air out of your attic into your home. Same thing reciprocates in the wintertime. If you had a crawl space, which you guys don't have to worry about that, but if you had a crawl space and you heat air, well, hot air rises, that's going to create a negative plane across the floor, and that's why in older homes you feel that cold, drafty floor across your feet is because it's actually sucking in cold air from the crawl space and around the base plates. So the two biggest things, is one, you eliminate that heat load at the roof deck. You move the HVAC system into a conditioned space, and you cap the stack effect from happening.
So this episode is sponsored by the Barndo Co. You can visit us online at thebarndoco.com and get started building your dream barndominium today. We specialize in build on your lot turnkey barndominium solutions. We have a whole gallery of plans that you can explore through. You can also go full custom route. You can get in touch with us through the website by filling out the contact us form, and one of our Barndo professionals will reach out to you, get your dream started today.
So something else that I know I want your perspective on.
Sure.
So you show up on a job site for us, 2,400 square foot, single story ranch home, and you run manual J calculations, and then you look at what we install.
Yeah.
We're split systems.
Sure.
All the time because of the cathedrals and the big exposed areas that we do, and typically in the center of our home. You look at it differs plan to plan, but the majority of what we build is, you've got one wing of a home, the other wing of a home, and then you got this big open central area, and so we don't have the attic up there to run all the ductwork and stuff. So we split system, and we do it by design. But I want to hear from you out without me putting any salt and pepper. What is your opinion on that? Like when you see it?
So from a consumer's perspective, I think it's beautiful. I love to walk in you guys' house. You walk into the front door and you have this big wide open space. Now, from a mechanical perspective, it's burdensome. Right. I mean, so now you have to split the HVAC systems up. In a lot of circumstances, you guys have to put in two systems. And then when it comes to doing the spray foam, it's just not as easy to spray that up there and have to get up there and shave it versus the other conditioned space where you don't have to shave it. So there's some extra work that comes involved that is involved in doing it that way. Functionality wise, it's still going to function the same. But I'd certainly believe that the look of it, the beauty behind it is worth the trade-off of the extra work required to get it done.
When we first started doing this, we had to diagnose it, right? Because we're creating a brand new product line.
Sure.
So we had to come up with an idea. And the idea was, and we do this some people like it, right? You could do the spiral ductwork through the center and connect both sides and do whatever in each area. You could accommodate that, put a bigger unit in, do whatever. And it was cool. I like the way it looks. Some people don't like that. Right. Super industrial. The other thing was we could drop down and put a ceiling on like the kitchen side. We do that some. Some of our clients lend to that.
Yeah.
Or we could build in hidden chases on each exterior wall and run ducts across. And then we sat down and we were like, there was a friend of mine who does some engineering, and he was one of my friends. He worked with Certainty, but he geeks on stuff. So I called him one night. I was like, man, what would you do? He's like, I put in 2 units, and I was like, yeah, but that's expensive. He's like, yeah, but who cares? This is why. And he was like, you build this house, and you got a master bedroom over here, and you got all this other stuff going on, right? Where like the laundry room and stuff, and so like people are always like, a lot of these plans look similar, just big, one's bigger, or it's by design, and here's why. Here's kind of the thought process behind it was, you build primary side, laundry rooms on that side, pantries on that side. You got the kitchen and the living room, and then typically this is gonna be like your guest wing, kids wing side of the house. Sure. He goes, you're building homes for people who are gonna live there forever. What are they gonna do with the empty nest? He's like, if you control and climate this piece over here, you don't have to run that to the same level. He's like, you have a little bit more independent control
Sure.
of your heat and air, depending on who's in the house.
Yeah.
The other thing he was like, hey, the other problem you have is you got force air into this big open space, and now you have 2 units
Sure.
pushing air, kind of competing over it. So from your perspective, like talk through that, if there's an advantage or if it's basically the same.
So from a mechanical perspective, I think that there can be a huge advantage. One, the redundancy is that is great because let's say you have an HVAC system fail. Well, if you do have a failure and your technician can't get out there in a reasonable amount of time, you still have some cooling in the house, and being that it's spray foamed, it's still going to keep it reasonably cool. But the other one, and probably nobody actually thought about that, I was going through one on one of our RAS projects, just thinking about the advantages, and your HVAC is going to be loaded for 95-degree weather outside. So the truth is, you don't always need that load. So you can, with those 2 systems, you can actually take it and stage it, and it can make it even much more efficient. So what you can do is take your main system that you've got and use it to heat and cool the house. But if you take the other thermostat, just put that on a circulate mode, that's just moving the air that this system over here is creating and cooling. Well, then you've dramatically increased the efficiency of your system, and you're still maintaining the comfort throughout the house during the shoulder season. So I think there's a huge mechanical advantage of doing that.
Yep. Well, and so the first time that we did that, we built a plan, and I don't even think it's a plan that we advertised. It's kind of similar to like what our cedar plan looks like. It had a big wing over here with 3 or 4 bedrooms and then like a separate little living area, and they had some older kids, and like they were like, that's their side, like, yeah, whatever. Put the barn doors up, but like it was a situation where the kids were with them part of the time. And when we built it, the guy that installed the system for us, we went in, we had everything there. We're like going through CO. Well, there was I can't remember exactly what it was. There was something with one of the units where that we were moving the location of the outdoor, whatever. But the internal piece would work. Like I'm not an HVAC guy,
Sure.
but he had that happening. Like in this kid's wing over here, it was just set on like fan on.
Right.
This side over here is pumping.
Sure.
We're walking around over there. I remember having this conversation. I don't remember if it was Ross that was with me or who I was there with, but I was with somebody, and they were like, well, they must have this thing fixed. I'm like, no, they didn't. But I never thought of it from that perspective. Like, you can use one for the heating and cooling and the other one for just circulation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea behind it is this, is yes, it costs a little bit more, but my God, it has too many advantages to not do it that way. And it'd been much simpler for us to just figure out a way to build a chase, but this is kind of how we attack things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time I got a set of plans with you guys, and I'm like, well, the smallest thing I can do is 2.5 ton units. It's spray foam. Like that's too much HVAC for this house. So I'm looking at it to begin with, and I got to thinking about it, and I was like, no, I don't have to use it all the time. All I've got to do is circulate the air. So it makes great sense. And then the truth is if something happened in the system on this side, then you can just swap it. You do the same thing. You can just run the other system and circulate it the other way. And being that it's a sealed spray foam house, as long as you're moving the air, it's going to be comfortable throughout. And, then the only times you're going to see issues is coming off of the shoulder seasons if it's getting really, really hot or cold. Some people probably had, like you said before, they probably had their engine fail, and because the air handler is still caught and running, they may not even know that the condenser may not be running. They could have a capacitor or something go out and have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I do want to take a minute and talk about some of the stuff. You mentioned it earlier that, you're involved with some of these big national groups and y'all do a bunch of charity work and stuff like that. And so you put me in a group for one project. I don't even know if you meant to add me to it, but I didn't mean, I was like in one of the messenger chats, something Wisconsin, y'all are doing something. And I didn't even know that you did that. And I was like, man, this is awesome. Cause like for me, the mission, vision, and everything of this company is like so much bigger than Barndo. Barndo's cool. It's the product, it's the thing, and we do it really well.
Yeah.
But for me, it's all about legacy and impact. Like everything about me is that my most exciting moment is in the summer bash, having this thing and making this big donation to something. And like, I love living poured out. It is not about, let's just grow as big as we can get so we can get as rich as we can get. Like, no, I love making impact. Community over everything for me. And so like, I feel like that attracts people with the same likeness. And that's kind of our mission. We want to build community with people who share our values.
Sure.
So talk about that a little bit. I thought it was super cool. Cause I'm like, you had to be in this. And there's hundreds of guys in there. They're all like, well, I could do this and I can do this and we'll knock this out. And
Yeah.
I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, so it's a group called Spray Foam Worldwide, and we're really proud to be a part of it. And I like to say I play a large role in it. I guess made a name for myself in organizing community charitable events around the nation. Been in Spray Foam magazine a few times. As a matter of fact, their last edition that they just put out last week, I've got an article in. But the last one that we did, the last Spray Foam project, that I put together was when the hurricanes hit up in Nashville. It impacted an area called Green Mountain, and somehow or another, a friend of the homeowners reached out and through somebody and somebody else found out that I might could help them do some charitable work. So we went up there and started talking to the homeowners, and it was a 97-year-old lady, lived on the river right there, and they had 3 houses, like their whole family lived right there. They had 2 businesses. 2 of the houses was completely wiped out. Miss Paraziti, she was 97, matriarch of her family. Her house was destroyed, but it was still standing. So it was a very sentimental project for us. We went in there and I don't know, maybe 20 of us contractors from around the nation got together, and we get the manufacturers together, donate the foam. I'll say the spray foam industry is not like any other industry I've ever been a part of, but it's a very, very generous industry. So we all got together and we spray foamed Miss Paraziti's house, and it's such an old house. We even once we sealed up the house, the roof, the walls, we even went up underneath because the house was literally built on like rocks. I mean, just crumbling foundation. So we went in with 2-pound closed cell foam, and we just we made it. We gave it structural integrity back by just binding it all together. So I really enjoy that kind of stuff, and then to be able to get everybody together, I've become such good friends with other spray foam contractors around the nation. Like I said, I don't really hang out with a whole lot of people in my area. I mean, it's family and work for me. So a lot of them are really good friends are guys that I share charity projects with, and so we've almost kind of made it a mission now. Like, we want to hang out with each other somewhere. It's like we have to find charity work so we could do that. But yeah, the next mission we got is a VFW up in Wisconsin, and I was on the phone on the way here just trying to help get some of that together. So, but yeah, that's what it is. It's called Spray Foam Worldwide. We do some conventions a couple times a year, and it's just a group of like-minded people. We get together. And it's also a channel where people getting into the industry have resources to just be able to reach out and ask for help. What might be a simple question for me might be very difficult to someone that's just trying to get into the industry. So it gives them a channel to be able to have just any kind of question answered whatsoever.
I love, man. I love when we like, it's so intentional for us. And like, we talk about it. I think people hear it, and there's so many people that are doing podcasts. So many people talk so much, but like, it's so real for me of like the mission behind what we do and wanting to do it with people who are like-minded. And it's important to me. The other thing about it that I thought was really cool is there's a few Barndo guys around here. But I had one reach out to me that I knew. I kind of knew of his company. Like I never met him. So like I'm a champion for all these guys. Like I am a their cheerleader. It blows people's minds sometimes. Like people online will be looking for something. I'll be like, hey, we'd love to help you, but if not us, check out these other guys. And he hit me up on Messenger. We started talking a little bit. We jumped on the phone together, and he was like, "Yeah, I was talking with Todd." And he was like, "Dude, reach out to this guy." And I was like, "I don't know if he would talk to me." And he's like, "100%, he'll talk to you." And what a great guy. But like, same thing. Like, you work in this with us, and like you and I don't even really know each other that well. Then like we're hanging out on the weekends, but like you knew enough to know like I promise you this guy will talk to you and help you any way possible. And for me, it was just cool. Like as soon as he was like, "Yo, Todd told me, that you'd be a big guy to reach out to," and I'm like, "That's why I love Todd."
Yeah.
But it's more than just business, man. Like it's fun when you can help other people. Because like you're talking about the guy that's getting into the industry, maybe doesn't know you were him once. And same with this industry. When we started this industry, I picked out 4 or 5 people that, just from a Google search, just some YouTube videos, I felt like were crushing it.
Sure.
Called them all, emailed them all. Not one person. Not one person. Matter of fact, out of the 5 that I did, I got 2 emails from 2 of them, and it was basically telling me that I needed to stay in my lane, get out of the industry. Just hateful. Hateful. Now, as I've been in it, I've met some people who've been in it longer than I've been alive who are phenomenal human beings. Like phenomenal. There is a really good group of guys that really want to see people succeed. But I champion that. Like I probably get more people reach out to me that are construction guys or builders in other parts of the country, built great friendships because they look at me going, "Dude, how the hell are you doing what you're doing?" And I'm like, I can't tell you all of it. Like I'll help you, but there's like, what are you doing right now? And let's figure out how you can get 5% better at that. It's like, put some pieces to it. And like, everything we do, we open the book up to it. Like we got lending knocked down for these things. I put a link on our website. It was there forever. We took it down because, we got so many lenders and everybody's fighting over who's getting what. But we had a link on our website for a long time, and they could lend in all 48, continental states. And so I told every builder, like I was going online, like, dude, send your people here. They can get them pushed through, and that'll solve the finance problem for you. Because that was a hurdle we faced. And like, he would call me. He's like, "Bro, I just got 56 applications from all over the freaking United States." And I was like, "Great. Like we're helping somewhere." But I love people like that, man. I love the way you build your business. I love what you're passionate about, and I love that you're super entrepreneurial and your wife is, and like, I follow all your new stuff you got going on, and I love it, man. I love to see it. I love to follow, along loosely with everything you got going on, and even get thrown in some of your unintended chats. But it made me smile because I'm like, I freaking love this guy. Like this is why we do what we do. But I appreciate you coming down, being on the show, talking about this stuff because it's important to people, and more so than just knowing that barns are a different way to build a home. I want them to know all the differences and the way and the intentionality behind the decisions we've made to make our product.
Sure.
So appreciate it, brother.
I appreciate you having me.